open house round 3 event. Thank you all so much for being here, and for those of you who have never been to one of our Friday Forum events, this is a Friday Forum like every other Friday. More? More? How about now? All right, thank you. Thank you, Connor. So this is a Friday Forum event like every Friday, almost every Friday, and a lot of our Friday Forum events we have some wonderful speakers. We have students who apply for Friday Forums and organize these events as well. So welcome to our Friday Forum, which is your open house, and welcome to all of our prospective students. It's been a joy all day to hear about all of your interests and have you here. For those of you who have not met me, I'm Christina Katapotis. I'm on the recruitment committee, which is one of our many committees that work together, students and professors collaboratively. And I just want to introduce a couple other people on the committee with me. Alicia, will you raise your hand? Thank you. And Seth, hi, who will be moderating our panel of students. And Mikey, is Mikey here as well? He'll be coming in soon. All right, well, thank you all for being here. And first, I would like to welcome Professor Mario DeGanci, our executive officer.
Thanks, everyone. I always enjoy this event to see all the wonderful applicants whose applications we read in January and get to know people a little bit better. I just wanted to say a few words about what to expect if you should come to this program. I know that a lot of you are making difficult decisions about what programs to attend, and those are difficult decisions because that will shape the next few years of your lives in a very crucial part of your professional development. And what I think there are other programs, other schools you might be considering where you'll get great training in coursework and scholarship, in teaching, as you will hear. I think what, for me, really sets the CUNY Graduate Center apart from some of the other places you might be considering is an area that we talk less about, which is in service, right? We know the 3 areas that in which you will get professional training as a graduate student that will impact the kinds of jobs you'll be applying for and your success on the market are teaching, scholarship, and service. And I think what's so great about our program is the opportunities that students have here to really be part of the active shaping and life of the program. That our students here serve on all kinds of committees. Students have an active vote and voice in every committee in terms of admissions, in terms of faculty hiring, in terms of shaping the curriculum. And those are really crucial experiences to have, both for your development as a student and also because you get to impact the kind of life that you'll have here as a student. So just to give you one example, for many years we've had a comprehensive exam that first-year students take. That was a 4-hour sit-down exam. Last year, we received petitions on behalf of various students that they really wanted to see this change, and they were much more interested in an exam that would be a kind of portfolio exam of work instead of a sit-down exam. And we listened to those requests, we took them very seriously, and decided to embark this year on an overhaul of this exam to conform to what we thought would be in the better service of students in advancing their scholarship and shaping their development. So this was just one example of how students really have a direct impact on the kind of work that they will do here in their time. So I just think that it's a really wonderful opportunity, should you decide to come here, to have a say in your own graduate education and what that will look like. So I think today you'll be hearing from many students and faculty that will talk about all these aspects of the program, but I just wanted to make sure that that to me is something that's a real strength of the program, is that students are really taken seriously here and listened to and can change policy and procedures in those ways. So thank you again and welcome, and I look forward to talking to you more after the program at the reception. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And speaking of student organization, next up is Esther Bernstein, our co-chair of the English Student Association.
Hi. So as Mario said, the students do have a large role in shaping the way the program runs. The English Student Association is made up of every single student in the English department, and there are various committees, some of which are shared governance with the English program and some of which are separate committees. And we meet monthly, talk about things, what the committees have been doing, what students want to see happening in the program, and then committees bring those back to various committees that they serve on. Some of the things that we've done recently from the ESA, a new thing, the alumni have donated to the ESA and enabled 14 students to receive travel grants to travel to archives and conferences, so that helped a lot. We have a library in this back room here that's maintained by the ESA. The ESA just recently passed a resolution in solidarity with what's going on with the PSE, and that was written, it was organized and written by a number of English program students as well as other students, so the ESA was kind of involved in helping make that happen. Connor, who's at the back there, played a large role in that as well. Upcoming, the ESA conference. Every year the ESA, the students hold a conference. That's coming up in April, April 6 and 7? Yeah, so if you're in New York at that point, you can come by then too. So yeah, it's a really rich student life.
And it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Suraj Ahmed, who will be speaking next. Thank you so much.
I always have a ton of trouble with this microphone. Am I making noise?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
Yeah, we'll see if it stays there. So I've been given the job to make a case for going to graduate school in English, getting a PhD, and for doing so at the GC in particular. And on one hand, I think that request should be very, very easy for me to fulfill because I still have the same idealistic passion. I think my students would say the same naive passion for literature and theory that I first experienced as an undergraduate. And when I was a graduate student in this city, I dreamt about continuing my academic life here. In fact, I was terrified of living anyplace else. But I never really dreamed that I would be working at this place, at the Graduate Center. And it took me many years to return to New York. And in between, I tried to commute, actually, from New York to Texas, very unsuccessfully, and then to New England. It is possible to live in other places. You don't have to be here, but once you get here, it is very, very hard to leave, I think. But I think that any faculty member that addresses prospective students and doesn't acknowledge the difficulty of graduate school and often of the career that comes afterwards is not being fully honest. I think the difficulty really for us now is to try to disentangle the profession of the academic and the institution of the university from the deeper meaning and purpose of what we do. And none of us can really ignore professionalization. We have to confront those demands at every stage of our career. And if you come here, it'll be our job to give you hands-on guidance at every stage. And you really should ask for that without any sense of abjection. I think it's really one of the most satisfying parts of what we do. When we do that, we're really just passing on what's already been given to us. We wouldn't be here otherwise. And I think you really won't find, a more generous, more unselfish, and more committed faculty than ours is. for reasons that have to do, I think, with CUNY. And I'd also say that although it's of course impossible to compare the academic accomplishments of different graduate programs or the faculty, there's something peculiar about ours. No one is hired to our department until many years of high-level scholarship at some other institution. But I think the point is, even as we try to remain aware of the demands of the profession, to not lose sight of the deeper meaning of what we do. Now, this is the point where I wanted to unfold to you what that deeper meaning is. I was told that everyone who had gone before me had been extraordinarily inspiring and eloquent and passionate, and the only expectation of me was that I would be equally as convincing. So, when you get to that point of your writing where you have to get somewhere, but the logic that would carry you completely escapes you, and your argument starts to evaporate, and you're not quite sure what you're arguing or why, and then thinking clearly, much less thinking grammatical sentences, becomes impossible. That's exactly what I felt at this point. I was on a train, I had a headache, I fell asleep, I woke up. So I did what I always do in these moments of desperation, which is I called my sister, and I said to her, I'm completely unqualified to address these students. I'm going to recuse myself. And she said, Suraj, it's not your job to explain to them the deeper meaning of what they're doing. And suddenly my body relaxed. That's not my job. That's not my job. My job is to make you more anxious, not less. Seriously though, my sister's obviously right. Each of you will figure out, each of you will define, based upon your unique personalities, how to push against this profession in order to find something deeper. You'll have to do that in order to become the best scholars you can be. And you'll have to do it also in order to save yourself, to not lose yourself in the process. I think at CUNY, the process of pushing against the profession, at the Grad Center in particular, happens to some extent for reasons that are peculiar to this institution. Most of the faculty here and all of the graduate students teach a primarily minority, immigrant, working class, and often quite deeply underprivileged undergraduate student body. I don't think that's true for any leading PhD institution any place in the world, definitely not in the US. Our students, our undergraduate students, have pressures on their lives that most of us can't even imagine. I can't even begin to explain how meaningful our relationship with those students are. If you want to find out, you'll have to come here. You'll have to choose us if you want to know. But beside how precious that relationship is in itself, I think teaching our students forces us, even when we're in the university, to think far beyond our profession, to the social struggles that are taking place in this city, to the movements for greater social equity that are occurring here. Regardless of your politics, you can't help but being touched, and I think changed for the better by the opening of post-secondary education to those whom it has traditionally excluded. When you start teaching our students, what's trivial in our profession always begins to fall away, and its importance starts to become clear. If you find today, as I have in my very brief time at the Graduate Center, that the faculty here seem more down to earth and more generous, the graduate students less uptight, less competitive with each other, more collaborative, I can't help but think that one reason is in part because of who and where we teach. I of course don't know where our discipline, our profession, and the university in general is going to go in the future. It seems to me though that if it's going to change for the better, it will need to, as Gayatri Spivak would say, unlearn its privilege. One thing I am sure of is that their future lies in your hands, not to put any more professional pressure on you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and that truly speaks to my experience here, and you put it into the perfect words. Thank you very much for that. And now for the next part of our event, which is a student panel that will be moderated by Seth Graves. Thank you so much.
I'd like to invite the 5 panelists we have to come up here. Thank you. Maybe check the mic.
They're all on. They're all on. Just don't move that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Is that okay? Can you stay for that? Okay, great.
And then, like, the mic is starting to get a little testy, but it's so far so good.
Just don't touch it.
Okay. All right. What is it, like this? I think it's this. Okay. Hi, my name is Seth Graves. I'm a second-year student here in the field of composition and rhetoric. And more importantly, I'm here to introduce our 5 panelists today of different years and have different experiences at the school, and would like to share those with you today. I have Shalmi, Michelle, Leilani, Paul, and Ellie. And from there, I just would like to begin by asking you to introduce yourselves. I know that's actually kind of really lazy, but I think it's better that way. If you could introduce yourselves, whatever you would like to say, kind of your year, what you study, that kind of thing. Do you want to go down the line?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm Ellie Waybright. I'm in my 4th year. I work in British Romanticism and the long 19th century, and my research focuses on intersections between music and sound studies and literature in the period.
Hi, I'm Shaumek. I'm a first year, so I can't give you such a clear idea of what I do. But I like thinking about issues of, like, basically neoliberal policy and literature and how they interact, and like the embodiedness of development and development narratives and that sort of stuff. I also like gay people and like queer people and trans people.
I'm Paul Hebert. I'm a 4th year student, and I do 19th century transatlantic narratives, a lot of times narratives of the ship and shipping.
Hi, I'm Michelle Chinitz, and I'm in the 1st year like Shamik, and I study novels, especially from Ireland and from parts of Africa in the 20th century. So my focus is post-colonial and global Anglophone.
I'm Leilani Dow. Most of you heard me talk about my interests earlier today, but I'm a 2nd year in the program, and my focus is on, so far, 20th, 21st century deployments of Black women's sexuality and Black women's body in terms of knowledge production in the U.S.
Thank you all. I think that the tapped into the question that keeps coming up, like what do you do? What is your field? And it's kind of a love-hate relationship to always be like re-articulating that and constantly tweaking it in different ways and that kind of thing. So what I'd like to, we thought about how we were going to do this Q&A, and we thought about kind of the 3 priorities of this conversation we'd like to have now is first, in terms of coming to the GC and why the Graduate Center in particular. And the second one in terms of what you found at the Graduate Center. And the last one we talk about kind of living in New York City, particularly for those who are moving here for this. So if we want to start and just talk about the Graduate Center, coming to the Graduate Center, your experience of choosing the school, what you identified with the school, that kind of thing. Sure.
So I have to be honest, I think when I was thinking about programs, I really had no idea what I should be looking for in programs, and what I was looking for coming out of undergrad